I believe that most people suck at social media because they try to go viral on every post. And when they don't, they cry to mommy. Just because you go viral once doesn't mean you're going to be a billionaire. And you're going to be sad 6 months later because you weren't able to capitalize it. That goes into being a real entrepreneur. If you take anything out of this interview and you want to crush social, obsess with platforms and culture, in the PAC framework, you can get to a place pretty quickly, 6 months, where you really know how the platform works.
So talk to us about the supply and demand curve that happens on social platforms.
At first, if they're meant to be big, the ones we all know, there's so much attention there, but there's less content creators. And so anybody that's posting is going to get more of the percentage of the attention. As it becomes normalized, it gets harder to go viral or get as many people to see it. And then at some point, it becomes really challenging, kind of like the thing everyone's dealing with on Instagram right now, because so much attention got deviated to TikTok. Not that anybody on TikTok is only on TikTok and not on Instagram. Obviously, the very young may be that way, but most people are on both. It's just that pre-TikTok, it was 4 hours on Instagram for that person instead of 2, because 2 is now on TikTok. The problem is, at the same time that went down from an attention standpoint, the amount of content that's being posted on Instagram is through the roof.
Yeah.
So yesterday, more content on Instagram than any day prior in Instagram's history, yet the attention is now fragmented between YouTube Shorts, TikTok, by the way, streaming services, by the way, Twitch, by the way. And so what ends up happening is there's only 24 hours a day. There's only so much attention, but there's more and more supply of content. So you have to know how to day trade it like a stock, somebody who day trades stocks. You're buying in nanoseconds. Whether it is the actual social media platform, buying ads on the platform, the influencers on the platform to do deals with, or anything else in between. And across all these platforms, from LinkedIn to Pinterest to Snapchat to YouTube Shorts to Facebook to Reels to Instagram, and then the units inside. Do you post carousel? Do you post a video? Do you do a reel? Do you do a long form picture? Do you do a lot of copy? Do you do no copy? Do you do emoji? What time do you post? This is fucking science.
Yep.
And talent, if you're remarkably beautiful, that will probably work. If you're remarkably funny, that'll probably work. But for the most people, being good at it is the point of this book. I really this is the most textbook that I've ever written. I'm going there.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of how well I've played all of the instruments. And I just want to try to help people get better at it.
Yeah.
Because it is the game.
Yeah. I loved your book, by the way. I thought you guys gave me an advanced copy and I read it and it was great.
Can I reverse this on you for a second?
Sure.
So you might be the first person I'm really, or maybe the second, but I didn't get to ask them. So obviously because of your success and your knowledge and your strengths, I kind of wrote this book for someone like you. This isn't you weren't going to read this book and be like, oh, this is of course. I'm curious what parts or what things or what hit for you.
Well, it solidified things for me. So for example, I'm one of the biggest LinkedIn marketing experts. I teach a 2-day class. It's the most popular class. And I can hack the algorithm. And that's why people hire me. So one of the things that's happening this year is that they're prioritizing interest relevancy over engagement probability. It used to be that you would post something motivational, something inspirational. If people shared it, you'd go viral. Now it's all about posting a specific topic, educating people, and then LinkedIn will match users based on the things they like, the interest graph. Exactly. So I actually wanted you to, can you go super deep on the interest graph? Because I feel like this is the major trend happening with all social media sites. And that's
totally
what
agree.
From your book, I was like, oh, he's right on the money.
I told my brother that I thought Tumblr was going to be bigger than Facebook and Twitter. I'll never forget. I called him after I invested. I said, I got the biggest one. I went Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr in my investing. Those are the first 3 companies I invested in my life. Out of a liquor store in New Jersey. It's funny. It's you can see I'm laughing at it's so improbable. I don't even, because it's my life, I don't even think, it's absurd. I thought Tumblr was going to be the biggest because of this conversation. It just took 15 years for it to happen. Again, everybody, social media for the first decade plus was very simple. It was like email marketing. You would get as many people to follow you as possible, and then you would post, and a percentage of those people would see it. That was the game. And that was easy for me to figure out because I did email marketing in 97, 98, 99 when that was new, and I was a big winner in that game. That was underpriced attention. I was competing against liquor stores that were making catalogs, but I was getting to the customer for free instead of how much a catalog cost and getting to them faster. It was huge. It was foundational. So I saw the same thing in social. So I amassed big followings. That was the focus. TikTokification of social media, like I talk about in the book. That interest graph algorithm is now going to eat up everything because it's better. It keeps you on the platform longer. Let's use common sense. You go to your Facebook, you're now 27. You went on Facebook at 18. The people you followed are people you met like one night hooking up or at a random party or whatever. And now you're seeing posts of them like them in Ohio with their aunt. And you're like, I don't give a fuck. But just like email, we don't unsubscribe from our fucking list. We just delete it or archive it, or like we don't put in the work to clean up our shit. So you kept seeing shit you didn't give a fuck about, which made you not spend 4 hours on it. It made you spend 14 minutes on your feed.
Yep.
Then you go to TikTok and you're seeing unlimited shit that you fuck with. And 4 hours later, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
That's good for TikTok. That was bad for Facebook. Now all of them are going to be like TikTok. And every social network is going to have the For You page DNA in them for quite a while now. Maybe forever, because it's more humanly true. That's what I focus on. And that's why focus on your niche is about to fuck up everyone. You're going to need to talk about more things than ever that are true to you, because you're going to need that content to find more different audiences for you to be as big as you want to be.
I was going to ask you, does that mean riches are in the niches now because of the interest graph? But to your point, if you've got multiple topics.
It's an and game. Think about how weird I am. The reason I know everybody from afar, especially in the game you're in, are like, what? Like garage sale videos. Then I mean, my grid has been fucked up for 12 years. And I was like, make a good grid. It's got to be on brand. I'm like, you fucking have no idea what you're talking about. The grid is like 5% of the consumption. The feed is the whole game. So you go to my fucking thing, you're like, who is this? Jets video, garage sale, keynote, board meeting, V-Friends, what the fuck is that? Like people are like, what? Like I'm confusing the shit out of people because I don't care about the grid. I care about being as relevant to as many different people as humanly possible. So
it's really just about posting one post, and that could go viral to different people rather than...
I'm so glad you just said that. I was about to jump in earlier. Another thing. Let's talk about viral.
Sure.
I'm going to use baseball. I know it's not as popular anymore, but it's the easiest one. Going viral is hitting a grand slam. Do you know anything about baseball?
A little. I know enough.
Enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what a strikeout is?
Yes.
Good. Most posts are a strikeout.
Okay.
Right? Doesn't do what you want it to do. I'm in the business of singles and doubles and triples with the occasional home run and grand slam, but could give a shit about hitting a grand slam. Or if you don't follow baseball, everyone, I won't use an analogy. I don't ever think about going viral. Ever. I only think about making good content that is valuable to the people on the other side. And that means that most of my stuff will consistently do solid. Occasionally do better than solid. And once in a while go viral. I believe that most people suck at social media because they try to go viral on every post. And when they don't, they cry to mommy.
So you're more about posting as much as you can. Hopefully they all do pretty good.
And posting as much as you can is also based on self-awareness of like, I start with like, do I have something to say that could bring someone value? Again, I need everybody to hear this. That comes in all shapes and sizes. I mean this. If you're funny and you do a skit like King Batch, that's value. You made somebody smile. And it's a fucked up world out there, and the feeds are fucking negative, and media's negative, and like that little ha ha ha. If you're attractive, like people like looking at attractive people. If you know something about LinkedIn, that's valuable to the people that want LinkedIn. Like we all have value. If you know something about BMX or wine or sneaker, like value, value, value. I think people have niched themselves in a corner. What happens if you know a lot about sneakers and you know a lot about bourbon? Post both. But I don't want to fucking the algorithm. And then people are super insecure. They almost never post because they don't think it's going to do well. As if that means anything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you normally get 5,000 views on your video. And this one got 49. What is, okay.
Yeah, who
like,
cares?
What is the matter with this? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, seriously, we're just, like, it's like we're treating our lives and social media like we're still in junior high.
Yeah. So speaking of niches, let's talk about creating audiences. Because like you just talked about, we can talk about multiple topics. We don't have to be scared about that. We can be a dynamic person on social media, which means we're going to be speaking to multiple audiences.
That's right.
And you say we should develop cohorts with teeth. So what do you mean by that?
When I make content, sometimes I'm like, this piece of content that I'm going to make is going to hit 45 to 55-year-old first-time moms on the coasts. More New York, LA mentality than London, than Ohio, than Spain. So if I know that I'm doing that, don't you think that my adjectives and analogies tone intent right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want everyone who's listening to start thinking about cohorts. Gary, what do you mean? I just do sneaker content. Okay. Well, there's a lot of different niches within sneaker content.
Mm-hmm.
There's people of high net worth like myself who can afford bougie fucking, Nike Air Force One collaborations. There's other people who just like really like New Balance. Like there's the Reebok movement that I'm getting into as well. Like there's a lot going on. Crocs, if you want to expand it a little bit. Like, do you know who you're making this video for? Because everyone's going too vanilla. I make content for entrepreneurs. I'm like, okay, knock yourself out. You know what? Imagine how much better a piece of content is that you know that you're going to make. I'm going to make content for first generation Hispanic entrepreneurs that are 18 to 22 that came from immigrant parents that came from Mexico. I'm going to use analogies. I'm going to make reference to rigatone. I'm going to talk about San Antonio culture.
Yep. Like use their slang and however they talk.
100%. It's called relevance, everyone. If you're not relevant to someone, the second I make a long tail barstool joke, every barstool dude is like, fuck yeah. Like it's not super complicated. And so, because everyone gets so boring and vanilla right away. People say to me all the time, they're like, it's a really funny thing that I fuck people up with. Like, because I've been so consistent and growing and all this stuff. But then like sometimes they'll be like, but Gary, you say the same shit. I'm like, what do you want me to make up stuff I don't believe in? And then they go, like if they stick with me in that convo, they start to realize, I say the same macro 15 things, but the way I say it differently and how and where and what and to whom, that's the game.
Yeah.
So cohorts, these are consumer segmentations. In old television talk, it was, we're trying to reach the 18 to 35-year-old demo. I like to think, and I know I'm looking at your crew a lot because I like doing that. Like, I like to think everyone in here is at a point in their lives where they realize an 18-year-old person and a 32-year-old person, the same person, are very different. So like, but that was television. You didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
Now that we have the internet, like everybody who's listening should be posting on Facebook. It's huge still. I'm getting 25, 30-year-old audience on Facebook. Now they're on there like once in a blue moon compared to whatever, but like you should be relevant to Facebook audience. You should be relevant to TikTok audience. Snapchat's culture is slightly different than TikTok's. And TikTok's like, it's all different rooms out there and you want to be in every room. And so what I talk about in the book about cohorts is consumer segmentation. And the reason I say with teeth is Adland, Don Draper, advertising, marketing agencies, the big brands that we work with, the biggest brands in the world. They like to talk about consumer segmentations, but they have one. They're like, we're going to sell this beer to health-seeking enthusiasts. They make it fucking broad as shit. Because they're going to make they're going to make one commercial on television and health-seeking. What they're basically telling you is like, let's make a beer commercial where like the couple went to yoga and after had a beer. Do you see what they're doing? What I'm saying is if you want that beer to be relevant to a lot of people, like you need to go deeper in that. And it needs to be like yoga moms, young yoga moms in Kansas City. You're going to make a very different piece of fucking Facebook content or Instagram content than if you say professional moms in New York City who are having their first child at 40 and fuck with yoga. Can you imagine how different those two pieces gotta be?
Very different.
Well, that's called fucking cohorts with teeth.
Love it. And so that was your first variable of your modern advertising framework, also the day trading attention framework. And then you lead into something called PAC, platforms and culture.
PAC is huge.
Yeah.
Platforms and culture. If you take anything out of this interview and you want to crush social, obsess with platforms and culture. Platforms are, what are the platforms currently doing that they give a shit about? So when Facebook announces carousels, good news, they need to test it. That means you should be making carousels because more people are going to see it organically, right? If the trends of the consumers on the platforms are people like skits, that's a platform and culture thing because you got to always know what's going on in culture. Culture is pop culture. Do you know that baggy pants are back? Like, because tight jeans were fucking crushing 7 years ago, right? Do you know that Crocs came back 5 years ago? Because 6 years ago, they were Dorkville, USA, but 20 years ago, they were killing it. Do you know what's going on with Aiden Ross and Sexy Red's controversy, or don't you? Do you know? Like, do you know pop culture, or don't you? Because if you do know pop culture, you're able to create crazy relevance, right? Do you because you're able to integrate that into your copy or the creative itself. There's a few moments, there's 3 weeks to 7 weeks there where the corn kid is a social media obsession, or that the Walgreens private label nice mango gummies are hot with Gen Alpha for a week. But if you're in the fucking gummy business, you should know that. Or you sell candy, you should, like, do you have a pulse of popular culture on everything? Because what's pop culture to maybe us is definitely not pop culture to somebody that lives in Peru. Like, you know, like, there's people that literally, I had a friend, literally, because I'm 48 now, so most of my friends are fucking finished. And what I mean by that is like deep pop culture. I literally had a friend 6 months ago text me, yo, have you heard of this guy, Bad Bunny? I'm like, what the fuck?
Where have you
I'm
been?
like, dude, please don't text anybody that. Like, you know what I mean? I literally took a screenshot of me DMing Bad Bunny in 2017 for him. I'm like, yes, I've heard, like, you know, razzing him of like, he's finished, he's a fucking suburban dad. Like, do you know or don't you know?
Yeah.
So culture matters heavy for content because we're gonna have to be better than everybody else. And if you can interstitial pop culture, you will win. Like, do you know it's a lavender latte at Starbucks for this season? You can factor, I like that you, see, like, but notice what just happened? She like shook her head because that one hit for her. Whereas Sexy Red and Aiden, like, you know, like, so imagine if I want both of them to give a shit about me, I've got to do both those things because I've got 1 second in feed for them to give a fuck.
Yeah,
It's okay.
platforms and culture. To me, that's very point in time, right? They're always changing. You've got to know what features are hot on the platform. You've got to know the algorithm, right? You've got to know what's hot.
Day trading.
Then you have strategic organic content.
Yes.
And to me, that's more about understanding human behavior.
Strategic organic content is the content that follows the pack framework in my mind. If you know those two things, then you make according to that, that is the outcome.
Yeah.
That is the content. I'll give you an example. It sounds like I haven't dug under the hood, but I will after this interview, that you're doing real work in LinkedIn. So that means most likely that you want on the P part, the platform. I know that because I also heard you talk about what the platform's doing. If you knew more about, this is how you get way better. This is how I get way better every day. In the pack framework, you could get to a place pretty quickly, 6 months, where you really know how the platform works. You've clearly done that on LinkedIn. What is really cool for you to go to the stratosphere is if you actually knew what was in pop culture talk for literally SaaS salesmen. For literally, like, I know this is gonna resonate with you. Like if you knew the fucking slang and the shit that every Fortune 500 CFO cared about, or every late stage VC CIO, now you're fucking cooking. Got it?
Yep.
Because now it's not just you know that this kind of content will work. Now you know even what the video or picture needs to do. Got it?
Yes.
That's pack.
Okay.
And so what we call SOC, strategic organic content, is the framework. It's the reason I created SOC and we run it heavy here at Vayner is organic content, meaning posting without media behind it or amplifying it, is now the single most important thing in marketing in the world. It's the game.
Okay.
If I needed to put the S in front of it, because by making it strategic, I'm trying to make sure that everybody in my company and all my clients and anybody around me realizes I need you to think about this. That's what we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes. There's a lot of people listening right now that I can feel them right now as they're walking the dog on the treadmill. I can feel them saying, ooh, there's a lot to this. It isn't just like, no wonder my videos are not doing good. You know, there's something to this. That's how I think about this.
Yeah. So I want to dig in on strategic organic content. So one of the things that I want to write my first book on is human behavior online, because I feel like if you understand human behavior, even if algorithms are changing, certain things don't change. You always want to see a face. You always want to have a hook. Everybody wants things shorter and skimmable, right? So there's always things.
That last one, the first two I liked a lot. The last one's an interesting one for me.
I guess it depends on the platform and what the purpose is, right?
And you'd be shocked. I mean, I promise you, we'll clip this in the future. There's going to be 7-minute videos on TikTok that crush in 3 years. Crush. The thing that this goes back to a big thesis in the book. If it's good, you can do anything. If it is a wildly compelling 19-minute video, you can crush on Instagram, though it is very unlikely to be good enough to be able to do that, right? So I want, the reason I jumped in is you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a curveball to everybody listening. It's not universal. Just because you make people make unlimited 7-second videos that people stop watching after a half a second because it's a shitty 7-second video. And there's also incredible amounts of outliers, if you pay very close attention, of longer form video in social, a minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, that have a lot of validity. And honestly, for a lot of people listening, they might have just heard something that got them excited because in their gut, they're like, you know what? I really can make epic 4-minute videos. I guess TikTok's not for me, but it is. There's a reason these platforms, back to P, have extended the length of their video time.
Yeah. So a short question before we close this out. In terms of entrepreneurs and your marketing advertising framework, your day trading attention, how can they use this to compete with the big dogs, the Fortune 500 companies?
It's the first time we can. You know, because for the first time ever, the creative is the variable of the reach. And that's marketing jargon. So let me say it again. For the first time ever, how good your picture or video is can lead to millions of people seeing it that never existed before in the history of time. You'd have to be on television or on the biggest magazine or newspaper to ever get 1 million people in America or the world to know anything. And you'd have to spend millions of dollars for that. Now, every day, we all know, every day that happens to somebody. Now, what we've also learned is just because you go viral once doesn't mean you're going to be a billionaire. It usually means that you're going to have this moment that you refer to your whole life, and you're actually be sad 6 months later because you weren't able to capitalize it. That goes into being a real entrepreneur. But for the first time ever, entrepreneurs, you have a fighting chance. Ember Chamberlain's coffee can compete with Folgers. Charlie D'Amelio's popcorn can compete. Logan Paul and KSI's energy drink is really competing. Mr. Beast's chocolate is really competing. And they're the preview, not the anomaly. I started a wine brand and sold it to Constellation for tens and tens of millions of dollars because I made organic content on the internet about wine and then started a wine brand. That will be a very normal occurrence for a long time.
Well, Gary, this has been amazing. This has been a masterclass in day trading attention and social media marketing. Thank you so much for joining us on Young and Profiting Podcast.
Thank you so much.